Welcome to another edition of Senator Shamp's Shout Out of the Week. If you've watched my videos, you've likely noticed how often I've mentioned my medical freedom bill, SB 1250. This bill was passed by the Senate and is now on its way to the House, where it will undergo the same steps before reaching the governor's desk for her signature or veto. This bill requires employers to allow employees who submit a religious exemption form to opt out of vaccination requirements for any vaccine approved for emergency use by the Food and Drug Administration. It prohibits employers from discriminating against employees in terms of employment, wages, or benefits based on vaccination status, and from inquiring about the veracity of an employee's religious beliefs, personal beliefs, or observances. It also allows a terminated employee to file a complaint with the Attorney General if their employer did not offer or denied a religious exemption for vaccinations. This is an important bill that will safeguard Arizonans' liberties. You may be wondering why I discuss this every week. Well, it's very important to me, and I'm sure that many of you feel the same way. At the end of the day, this proposed legislation prevents any employer from discriminating against you based on whether you choose to get vaccinated or not. This bill advocates for true medical freedom. It is not about COVID. Medical freedom is the principle that allows individuals to have the right to determine their own medical care without interference from outside sources. As a nurse, I advocate for this every day. It is the belief that every individual should be able to select the medical treatments they feel are best for them and reject those with which they are uncomfortable. The scope of medical freedom includes the right to refuse medical treatment, the right to alternative and complementary medicine, and the right to access experimental treatments. We fought for that here in Arizona. I believe that the authority to make medical decisions rightfully belongs to the individual, not the government. Medical establishments or external entities shouldn't have that control either. This is why I ran for office, and I will not stop until you have the freedom to choose for yourself. Now I want to touch on another topic that I've received many phone calls and emails about, and thank you very much for reaching out and talking to me. SB 1265 has passed the Senate and has been transmitted to the House. This bill seeks to prohibit ranked choice voting, oftentimes called RCV. It's going to prohibit it in Arizona and ensure that the candidate receiving the most legal votes in an election is declared elected. RCV is an alternative voting method where voters can rank their preferred candidates in order of preference. In RCV, if no candidate receives a majority of the first choice votes, the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated, and their votes are then redistributed based on the voter's second choice. This process continues until a candidate receives a majority of votes. This can be quite confusing for voters, difficult to administer, and may not always result in the candidate with the most first choice votes winning the election. SB 1265 will now proceed through the House legislative process, and if it receives the same support there, it will be sent to the governor's desk for her signature or veto. And lastly, I want to highlight a bill I deeply care about, SB 1251. This bill aims to prohibit a city, town, or county from enacting any ordinance, resolution, or policy that prohibits or restricts a person's use of a working animal in lawful commerce for an enterprise. This bill will encompass and preserve the 2 C's of Arizona's 5 C's that come together in my world, and that is cattle and climate. Throughout the state of Arizona, we use our horses to assist us with our work. This bill protects the right for us to use the animals in our workplace and prohibits businesses and local governments from interfering with this right. I'm very proud that this bill passed out of the Senate this week and will now go through the legislative process at the House. Well, that's it for now. Join me next week for another edition of Senator Shamp's Shout Out, my social media info at the end of this video. So make sure to follow me. Take care. I'll see you next time, and God bless.